Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good day, Miss Nurhayati. This is Muhammad Lutfi. Today, I'm going to record this project through Applied Linguistic course final project, solving the case study. Without any further ado, get up to the point up now. So the table of contents here, first case study. The second is how my perspective to solve the first case study, linguistic bias in the news reporting, and the last case study is the language plan development by the government. For the second case study, I'm going to propose design a strategy, comprehensive and chronologies and systematic strategies. All right. So case study. So here are the first and second case study. Okay. In addressing Mr. Thompson case study, I will focus on the three crucial linguistic aspects that are currently analyzed in news reporting to detect bias. First, word choice, framing, and source attribution. I'm going to explore how this aspect contribute the bias reporting and their effects on the audience perception and the analytical methods that can be employed, referencing contemporary theoretical frameworks and recent research. First, word choice bias. The selection of words in news reporting greatly affects bias by choosing terms that carry specific meaning, which can shape how the audience perceives issues. For instances, describing a protest as a riot instead of the demonstration can create a feelings of chaos of legitimacy, as it indicated by Van Dijk in the 1995 discourse analysis, which activates mental frameworks that correspond with various ideological views. To identify this bias, corpus linguistics tools such as ENCODE can examine word usage and collocation across different media, uncovering patterns like those in Hart and Masmorstein in the 2023 research, which revealed that conservative media labeled climate protesters as extremists, while liberal media referred to them as the activists. This lexical choice can subtly guide the public opinion by framing events and emotional ideological context. The second linguistic feature is framing. Framing refers to the way news stories are organized to highlight the particular viewpoints, defining issues, causes, and the solution, as it explained by the Enman in the 1993 framing theory. For example, labeling a policy as a job killing rather than worker protecting can influence how the audience interprets it by connecting to their values, as it noted in the lack of cognitive linguistics. Detecting bias involves using qualitative coding or topic modeling with tools like NVivo to pinpoint the main frames, as illustrated in the Zhang and Hellmuller's 2024 study, which indicated that vaccine hesitancy is framed as the ignorance in the Western media, compared the inequity in the under context. This frame helps shape the audience understanding, often the reinforcing the ideological splits. The third is source attribution. The way sources are attributed can lead to the biased news by only highlighting voices that support a particular narrative, as it noted in the third clause, critical discourse analysis, which examines the construction of the power dynamics. When there is an over-reliance on elite sources and the lack of a representation of the marginalized voices, it skews how people are represented. This was exposed in the 2022 study by Lee and Kim that analyzed that the selection of participant sources in the election coverage. Thompson can investigate this by counting how often different sources are cited and using network mapping tools like GEPI to show disparities and false representation. Such decisions can impact the audience and can impact the audience trust and perception, validating certain viewpoints while marginalizing others, thereby perpetuating bias in news reporting. Okay. The second case study is the language policy and promotion designed by the government. To create a language policy that is inclusive and true, aimed at encouraging language diversity, protecting local language, and fostering effective communication and national unity in education suggests the clear step-by-step strategy. This plan is divided into three stages to guarantee sustainability and government oversight. First, foundation and planning. So the objective of this first stage is establish and emphasize a data-driven, inclusive policy framework. So the government action is need to conduct a linguistic mapping study to identify indigenous language, their vitality, and speaker demographics. The second, engage indigenous communities, educators, policymakers, through consultation to ensure the cultural relevance and the community buy-in. The third action is develop and design a draft language policy promoting bilingual and multilingual education, language preservation, and national unity, with defined roles and funding plans. The last action is begin developing multilingual curriculum and initiate teacher training programs and focusing on the native speakers and underserved areas. The output of this first stage is the linguistic database, improving community-based policy priorities, and the accepted policy guidelines. And the last is initial course outlines and the 1000 plus qualified teacher. The purpose of this first stage is like a participatory and evidence-based of the foundation for sustainable implementation. The second stage, implementation and expansion. The objective is to boost and scale up, to boost and build scale up multilingual education and community engagement. The action is first, roll out multilingual curriculum in pilot schools, expanding to 50% of primary schools with resources such as textbooks, digital tools, digital platform in the indigenous language. The second action is intensifying teachers training, targeting 5,000 plus educators with incentive for rural development. And the last is a launch community programs such as language clubs, cultural festivals, and media content. Stage 3, the third stage, sustainability and institutionalization. in the years 5 until the 10 plus sustainable. The objective of the third stage is the make sure and ensure the long-term preservation and integration of linguistic diversity. So the action need to be is enable regulation to make multilingual education a permanent part of the national system that's supported by sustainable funding, national budgets, and international grants. Promote indigenous language in public life, such as signage, media, telecommunication, digital streaming services, and the celebrate diversity through national events. The last action that need to be by the government is collaborate with the global networks such as UNESCO to share and expose the best practices and improving the visibility. The output of this stage is the legal framework, university programs, increasing public use of indigenous language, and global partnership. So the core principle to conducting this third stage, first, inclusivity that is described as center indigenous communities in decision making. Second, equity, priority marginalized regions and language. The third, flexibility, adaptation to the local context. The last is sustainability, build local capacity and secure long-term resources. All right, that's all my own explanation and strategy to solve this case study. Apologies if there are any mistake, and thank you very much to watch this project.